All right, let's get right into it. When you think project management, you probably picture drawings, Gantt charts, and maybe some complicated software, right? But what if I told you the most critical system you will ever manage isn't made of steel or concrete? Nope, it's made of people. Today we're going to break down the People Control System, a framework that's all about managing projects by truly mastering the human element.
So, let's start with the big question. Why do projects actually fail? I mean, think about any project you've been on that's gone completely off the rails. The official report probably blames something technical, maybe a material delay. But let's be honest, the real culprits, the things that truly sink a project, are almost always about people. Let's dig into what that actually means.
And this slide just nails the disconnect, doesn't it? We love to blame the easy stuff, like flawed drawings. But the reality, what you and I actually deal with every single day, is people problems. It's those conflicting instructions from two different managers that force your team to do the same work twice. It's that critical decision from a client that comes a week too late, putting everyone behind schedule. Or, just plain weak communication that leaves everyone guessing. And look, this isn't just a hunch. The Project Management Institute, PMI, says it loud and clear. Poor communication is the #1 source of project risk. Period.
Okay, so if people are the system, how in the world do we start to manage it? Well, that brings us to our first pillar. You have to map your stakeholder system. You can't control what you can't see. So the very first step is to get total situational awareness. Now, we need to think bigger than just the client. From a real-world, on-the-ground perspective, every single one of these groups has power. The consultant? They can stop all work with a single inspection. The local municipality? They can shut you down over a permit. That key vendor? If they don't get paid, your whole schedule can grind to a halt. See, each one of them has a stop work button. They are all your stakeholders. So once you know who's in the game, you need a strategy. This right here is the Power Interest Matrix, and it's a classic PMP tool for a very good reason. It just works. It's brilliant. For the high-power, high-interest folks, like your project sponsor, you got to manage closely. They need constant updates. Now, for the high-power but low-interest groups, think of a government authority, your job is to keep satisfied. Give them exactly what they need on time so they never become a problem. For those with a lot of interest but not much power, you just keep informed. And everyone else, you simply monitor. This isn't about being dismissive, it's about focusing your finite energy where it's going to have the biggest impact. And that leads to your first killer interview-ready one-liner. This isn't about managing an org chart, it's about managing influence. When you understand who can really impact your project and why they care, you stop reacting to problems and you start preventing them before they even happen.
So, you've mapped your system. Awesome. Now it's time to program it. And that's pillar 2, designing your communication flow. I really want you to stop thinking of a comms plan as some boring document you have to write. Think of it as the operating code that runs your entire project.
Look, a practical plan just answers 4 simple questions. What are we talking about? Who needs to know? How often do they need to know it? And how are we going to tell them? So, for example, overall progress? That goes to the client in a weekly report. A big technical issue? That needs an immediate meeting with the engineers. And an official change? That requires a formal letter to everybody. It's all about getting the right info to the right people at the right time. Oh, and a pro tip? Meeting minutes always go out within 24 hours. No exceptions. But listen, effective communication is not the same thing as more communication. 100 emails a day isn't control, it's just noise. The single most powerful game-changing part of any weekly report is a section that is clearly labeled Decisions Needed. This one little thing transforms your report from a passive update into an active tool that drives the project forward. It's where you say, I need this specific decision from this person by this date. And here is your next interview gem. This is how you show that you're a leader who makes things happen. You don't just send updates, you design your communication to force a decision. Anything less than that is just contributing to the noise and causing the very delays you're supposed to be preventing. Okay, so you've mapped the system and you've designed the communication flow. Pillar 3 is about running that system day in and day out. This is where those so-called soft skills, leadership, conflict resolution, ethics, become your most powerful, tangible, hard skills. This is so critical to understand. There's a huge difference between authority and leadership. Authority comes from your job title. It gives you the right to tell someone what to do. But leadership? That comes from trust and clarity. It's the ability to influence people to act, even when they don't report to you. And let's be real, as a project manager, that's your life, right? Leading subcontractors, vendors, even people on the client's team. You do it by being clear, being consistent, and documenting everything.
Look, conflict is going to happen. It's inevitable. But a great PM doesn't get emotional. They run a process, a playbook. Step 1, you detect it early. Step 2, you clarify the real root cause. Is this about scope, or did someone just communicate poorly? Step 3, you present clear options and explain their impact. 4, you get everyone to agree on a path forward. And finally, the most important step of all, you document the decision. This turns a messy fight into a structured, solvable problem.
And holding this entire system together is ethics. The rules are simple and they are absolutely non-negotiable. You never hide a delay, you never conceal a defect, and you never ever ignore a potential risk. Because hiding a problem doesn't make it go away, it just guarantees it's going to blow up in your face later. Your transparency is what builds the trust you need to lead. Your integrity is your single most valuable asset.
All right, let's talk about a bonus layer we can add to our system, smart automation. But the key here is to be strategic. The whole point of automation is to help you make better decisions, not to make them for you. Remember this, automate the tracking, but never ever automate the judgment.
So let's make this crystal clear. What should you automate? Things that give you visibility. Tracking paperwork and sending automatic reminders for things that are overdue? Yes, perfect. Generating status dashboards from a simple spreadsheet? Absolutely. But what should you never automate? Anything that requires human judgment. Final approvals, negotiating a change order with a client, resolving a complex conflict? No way. Those are always on you.
And that right there is the mindset of a modern strategic PM. You use technology to buy back your most valuable resource, your time. You let the computers handle the boring, repetitive tracking so that you can focus on the high-value human work that actually matters: judgment, negotiation, and leadership.
Okay, let's pull all of this together into a simple, repeatable operating manual. This is the framework you can literally use to take control of any project you're on starting tomorrow.
Here it is, the people control system loop. It's a cycle. First, you identify all your stakeholders and their influence. Then, you engage them with a smart, targeted communication plan. You lead the decision-making process with total clarity. You document everything to create a single source of truth. And finally, you use automation to improve your tracking. Then what? The loop starts all over again. It's a continuous cycle of control.
So let's wrap this up with your interview-ready toolkit. When they ask you how you handle risk, you say, most project risks are people-related, not technical. I focus on managing those first. When they ask about stakeholders, my strategy is to manage influence, not just titles. And on communication, I ensure my communication is designed to drive a decision, not just provide an update. These aren't just buzzwords. They're proof that you get it. You understand how to manage the human system that actually delivers a successful project.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Knowing all this stuff is great, but it's useless if you don't apply it. So looking at this whole framework, I have one question for you. What is the one single process, just one, that you will implement on your project tomorrow? Maybe it's mapping your stakeholders. Maybe it's adding that decisions needed section to your report. Just pick one thing and start there. That's how you really begin to take control.